Sunday morning, I'm so tired. I'm not supposed to fall asleep in church, but it's so dull and dark and quiet. And I couldn't sleep last night. Can't remember the nightmare. But after it woke me up, I was done for the rest of the night. Not sure what's worse, to remember it or not. 'Cause I can still remember the feeling of fearing.
I love to light the Advent wreath. It's my favorite part of altar serving. This is the second week, so I light 2 purple ones. Next week, I light the pink one, and then it's Christmas week. Monsignor reminds us, though, at this time we must also honor the namesake of our church, St. Lucy, whose feast day is next Sunday. He has a surprise for all of us. He will announce it at the end of Mass, but I already know what it is. We have a lot of secrets between us, the Monsignor and me.
It's nice up in the choir loft. I get to see Mass from above, like God. And I love to sing, especially Christmas songs. Most people like the Santa Claus ones on the radio, but I enjoy the Jesus ones. They're better to sing.
Church songs are gloomy as hell. And why do I have to look at this bloody man hanging on a cross? It's disgusting. Oh, but I'm not supposed to watch a scary movie. And that statue of St. Lucy on the altar holding her own eyes on a silver platter. Gross. Figures her blind eyes looking out for us. She can't see there's nothing more dreadful than a place like this. How do these people feel so at peace here? That makes it all the stranger to me. What am I missing? No one wants to be here. They all look miserable. Why don't we all just leave? And why do we keep coming back? This place creeps me out.
I love all the little harbingers for Christmas. Harbingers don't always have to be scary. There's a lot of them this time of year. Nice little reminders of the season. But for some reason, they seem to remind me of something else. This year is different.
Our choir director says the acoustics in here are amazing. They should be. So much open space. I don't know why the ceilings are so high, but it does make for a good sound. The outside is like some old haunted castle. I guess it was modeled after our sister parish, the Church of Santa Lucia in Syracuse, Italy. Here in Syracuse, New York, it's just St. Lucy's. 11 o'clock Mass at 1134 Fearing Place, every week, like clockwork.
I keep dozing off, and then waking up every time we have to stand, sit, or kneel. I can't stand it. I wake up one last time towards the end of Mass. I see on my father's watch it's 11:34. He has his arm around me and pinches my shoulder to wake me up. I hate when he does that. And I hate when he holds on to me like this. Most kids don't like when their parents hug and kiss them in public because it's embarrassing. But I hate it even worse in private. Me and Gasper are going to Mortimer's after church. It's supposed to be family day on Sunday, but we don't like it, and Mortimer doesn't have family day at his house, so it works out. Our parents don't like us going there, so we told them we're going sledding.
Something special happens when we all sing. It's like we turn into one loud thing bigger than me and all of us. Feels like we can blast out the ceiling and send our voices straight up to heaven. My father doesn't come to hear me sing because he says he can't hear me anyway. Let me know when you got a solo, he told me. I'm not good enough for that, and he knows it. I'd just like to be a part of it.
Before the Mass is ended, Monsignor announces that next week will be his last Mass. Everyone seems very sad. I thought I would be more sad. I'm not glad about it or anything, but maybe I am. He is going to help little kids in Jamaica, so that's good, I guess. I thought that was his only announcement, but then he had another surprise for everyone.
Next week is the Monsignor's last Mass, and I could care less. Everyone feels so blessed to know him. I don't know about all that. He's been around since my parents went to school here. They won't say a bad thing about him. No one does. He doesn't seem so holy to me.
Our sister parish sent us a special gift all the way from Italy. Monsignor won't say what it is, but he will reveal it to us at Mass next Sunday.
I wonder what it is Monsignor says he will show me if I stay after Mass with him in the rectory. I'll just wait to find out.
Woke up on the wrong side of the week. Again, with a stomachache. Every Monday morning. I can't stay home because my mom says I'm not really sick. It's all in my head. And she's right. But why should school be such a place of dread? It's like the nightmare. Wake up from one and into another. So when can I rest? Still couldn't sleep last night. I never sleep when Dad tucks me in. And my mother won't do it anymore. But I can't sleep anyway. That same dream keeps creeping up on me. It's more and more clear every time. I'm sitting in the dark. It's so dark that my eyes start adjusting to it, and I can almost see something in there with me. Normally the dark scares me, but I don't want to see what it's hiding. Sometimes dark and alone is better.
Noelle tried telling me about a dream she had. It didn't make any sense at first, but then for some reason it started to sound a little bit familiar to me. Like maybe I had that same dream. And the more she describes it, the more I can sort of remember it too. And I don't want to.
Before class, Gasper and Noelle were talking about some weird dream that they thought they had. I don't know about all that, but I keep getting the strangest thoughts that just sort of pop into my head for no reason. And I don't know why, but they're very unnatural and brutal, like things people shouldn't be thinking. Or maybe it's totally natural, but that makes it even worse. That's why I stayed out of the conversation and just went and sat down for class.
I hate Mrs. O'Toole. She is so mean, and her class is so boring. She always yells at me for falling asleep during class, and I tried to tell her that I can't sleep at night, but she doesn't care. Now she keeps going on and on about St. Lucy, saying how she refused the offers of some guy, and then when he forced himself on her, he wasn't able to do it, and then when they tried to kill her, their swords could not penetrate her, and when they tried to take her eyes out, they could not blind her. It was the grace of God did this. That doesn't sound right to me. My eyes are starting to fall again. I can't help it. I know I'm going to get into trouble. And when I start to drift off into a dream, back in time, I can sort of see what really happened to our patron saint of blindness. And it's not a pretty sight.
I should try and wake her up before she gets in trouble again. But if I do, I might get in trouble too. Maybe Mortimer can get her attention. He doesn't seem to mind detention as much.
I don't like seeing my friends get in trouble. She doesn't do anything wrong. She can't help it. And when she is awake and asking questions, she gets in trouble for that too. And normally, when she falls asleep in class, Mrs. O'Toole yells at her and wakes her up. But this time, Mrs. O'Toole doesn't notice yet. So she's wrapping up her martyr story with a nice Christmas bow when Noelle wakes up screaming. And then, after catching her breath for a bit, she says words that I think are the real end to that story.
Santa Lucia died screaming.
Wednesday means choir rehearsal after school. Not just us this time, it's the whole class, practicing for Monsignor's send-off on Sunday. We're singing So Long, Farewell, from The Sound of Music. Yeah, it's a terrible song. It's also a terrible occasion. Not because the Monsignor's leaving, because why he's leaving. They can say that he's doing missionary work, but I know what he'll be doing down there, and it's the same thing he's been doing right here for years, to our parents before us, and to my good friend who is too weak to fend for himself, and loves the Monsignor too much to tell anyone. He never even told Noel, but he told me. Maybe because he's a boy, and I'm another boy, and he didn't want to tell a girl. They both tell me things that they don't tell the other one. I don't know why they do, but I always listen. It's the least I can do. Like confession. And I'm starting to understand why Noel doesn't like to go home. My dad may be on disability painkillers and booze, and sure, he doesn't go to church, but the worst thing he's ever done to me is pass out on the couch and leave me unattended. Which is dangerous. But he trusts me, and he's never tried to hurt me on purpose. I'm glad the Monsignor's leaving, but I don't like that he's getting off like that while we get into trouble for nothing, confessing our little nothing sins to him. And what about those kids down there? How dare they make us celebrate him and make it seem like he's some savior or saint?
Why do we have to stay after school? I'm not in choir. Don't like this place during the day, but I really hate it at night, and around here this time of year, it gets dark early. And these halls are just awful when it gets dark. And no one else is there. And your steps echo all the way down and almost sound like someone else walking around down the long hallway. And you can't tell if you're alone or not. I'm not sure which is worse. At least my friends are here. That's the only thing that makes anything okay.
Normally, I'm all excited at Christmas time. It's the only time kids are excited about going into school and even church. Or less bummed out about it, I guess. We all can't wait until Christmas vacation, but we also like the time leading up to it. The anticipation. Teachers are a little nicer. The rules are a little looser the closer that it gets. But not this year. This year, everyone is all stressed out for the holiday. And that's normal, but there's no joy to go with it. All the Christmas decorations at school, even at home, seem more like Halloween decorations to me. And I like Halloween decorations, but only at Halloween time. This seems scary to me.
The halls of the school have always bugged me out, and the church across the street is no better. But now these places have never been stranger to me. Like, how did any of this ever feel normal? And what are we even doing here?
And I don't even want to go home after rehearsal because my house is even worse. Haven't felt at home there since I can remember.
We all go to my house again after choir. I don't really like my friends seeing my house because it's not as nice as theirs, and neither is my father, but he's the only one who doesn't bother us, and he doesn't care what we do.
Mortimer's family doesn't seem very close.
I wish my family wasn't so close.
I didn't used to get why Gasper and Noel would be scared of their own houses more than mine. Their neighborhoods are so much safer than mine. Maybe to them it feels more scary when things seem safe, but don't feel that way. So instead they come here, where it looks scary, but for some reason they feel safe.
I like how tacky his father's decorations are. No Jesus, no manger, all the fun stuff, those glow-up molds and all that, not even just on the outside, the whole place is lit up. It's small and cozy. Our house is all big and creepy and the decorations are all fancy and spread out. No fun. I can't even play with the nativity. Last year, I lost a wise man. There shouldn't be action figures out if I can't move them around.
We start swapping nightmares again. This time I got one too, and even though it wasn't very clear, it reminded me of what they were talking about before class the other day. I was chasing Bobby through the woods. We play in the woods sometimes, especially in the winter. The trees are dead, so you can further ahead, and the ground is crunchy. It's fun, but this was not a game at all. I was hunting him. Not sure exactly when I woke up, but I'm glad I don't remember catching up to him. I wasn't going to tell him about that dream, but then when he told me about his.
Mortimer and me had the same dream, except his ended before mine did. And when I told him the ending, he got sick to his stomach. He said he was sorry, like it really happened. And even though it wasn't for real, I could tell that it felt as real for him as it did for me.
I haven't said this since I was a little girl, but I have a scary feeling.
Thank God this week is almost over.
Fridays go by the slowest.
Finally, the lunch bell rings at 11:30, halfway mark of the day. I'm so tired. That stupid dream keeps waking me up every night. I'm still alone, but there's commotion outside, and I'm not sure which is worse, being out there with people who sound angry and dangerous, or being alone in the dark. Sometimes dark and alone is better.
Can't I enjoy my lunch without discussing this? We sit down at the table around 11:35, just before actually, 11:34 to be exact. And already she starts.
Noelle won't stop talking about her stupid dreams, and I don't want to hear about it anymore. Not because it annoys me, but I like not remembering my dreams. And when she talks about hers, it makes me think that maybe I'm having the same ones, but I just don't remember them until she reminds me. I never dreamed of killing my best friend until she opened us up to that world, and now it's like all three of us are stuck in there.
It's like we don't all have the same story, but it all seems to be happening in the same place. And we aren't just one person. It's like we're a whole bunch of people experiencing something horrible in a bunch of different horrible ways that I don't want to talk about, but now I can't help it. I can't keep it in.
We don't even eat. There's no room for food with everything poured out of us at that lunch table, discussing our various experiences.
We all start sharing little details that occur to us in the moment until a full story starts to come together.
My story has stayed the same pretty much. I can hear the things they're describing. I'm aware of them, but I can't see any of it. At least I'm not alone in the dark. Still dark, but not alone. Not pitch black anymore. Last night, for the first time, I had a candle in my hand. This whole time, it felt like I was in some small little crawl space, and I'm claustrophobic, so that was very upsetting to me. But when I held out the candle, it lit up the dark, and it only showed how far the dark really goes. There were no walls, no crawl space, just open darkness, like a lake in the Adirondacks at night. And something moving that I don't care to see. I guess alone in the dark really is better sometimes. When you don't know what's out there. Or in there with you.
This time, she said there was an old man creeping up to her, and when he came into the light that she was holding, she could see that he had no eyes.
But there was no bloody evidence of his eyes getting gouged out. It was like they had sunken back into his face, like they were never there in the first place.
The more she describes it, the more it becomes clear in my head the image of this old man.
A priest?
Not the Monsignor, older and rotting, hobbling into the light.
Then we take turns speaking the words of this old Italian priest.
In the dreams, he spoke in a foreign language.
And somehow we were all able to understand what he was saying and speak it out loud to each other.
When a pure soul endures the most brutal and unnatural death imaginable, they may become a martyr.
Some of these martyrs are given the opportunity to forgive their aggressors in the manner of Jesus Christ, and in this they are able to transcend their suffering and become a saint.
Others, however, may choose not to forgive and to serve a darker purpose.
Just as evil can turn righteous, so too can precious turn evil, in the manner of Lucifer himself.
Whether a good demon or a bad saint, they are bound within the realm of their own relic, in the walls of their own church, to secure the purity and destroy the predatory, in the name of our Creator.
The entire congregation at the Church of Santa Lucia was blessed with her presence last year, and now her relic has been passed on to you, in honor of her feast day, when all will see what she sees. That's all we see now.
Lighting the Advent wreath again, this time the pink one. This week has been hard, but I'm still excited about Christmas. Usually I'm more and more psyched every Sunday morning leading up to midnight mass. But this morning I'm worried. Maybe because Monsignor is leaving. I don't know why he can't stay for midnight mass, but I guess he just has to be on his way. Not sure why they would send him off to some place so far away at his age when he's been here for so long. But he said that he looks forward to helping the little boys in Jamaica, just like how he helped me and my parents. It seems like the announcement is a little last minute, maybe because he knew that people would be sad, and he doesn't want them to be sad for very long before he's gone. Especially at Christmas. I bet they'll be happy to see the other surprise, though. I wonder what it is.
It seems like the church gets darker and darker every week during Advent the closer we get to Christmas. And then on Christmas Eve you can barely even see anything except for the lights on the wreath and trees. Then it brightens right up on Christmas Day. But for some reason the church seems extra dark today. Maybe it just feels that way. Maybe because it's the feast day of Santa Lucia. A very grim day, no matter what they tell us.
For his last day, Monsignor said that he wanted me like Adam under my robe. Purely shameless. Not sure what he meant.
Normally I'm falling asleep in church. This time I'm wide awake, watching the time on my father's wristwatch when he pulls me into him. At 11:34, the Monsignor finally reveals our gift from Italy.
He quotes Luke 11:34. The eyes are the light of the body.
When they are good, so too is the body.
But when they are bad...
The body is in darkness.
Isn't that from Godspell? I thought we were doing The Sound of Music.
He has me carry out a golden tabernacle from the sacristy. I open it for him, but I can't see inside.
I can't really see from where I'm sitting.
I can't see from up here. What are those?
They look like marbles.
Or eyeballs.
The eyes of Santa Lucia.
They can't be real, can they?
Those are real eyes.
No way.
Everyone kneels. Monsignor didn't even ask them to. He tells them to remain standing and invites all the students to join the choir up in the loft.
I don't usually get to go up there. At least it gets me out from under my dad's arm.
All us kids go up to the choir loft, while the parents stay in their pews for our performance.
Before we sing our stupid song, he gives a speech.
Starts off normal enough. How much he will miss us all, what his time here has meant. But then he says something odd. He asks us to pray for him. He always offered to pray for us like some holy man on high. But this was the first time he asked for prayers.
Then he starts to cry. Not tears of joy or even sorrow for having to leave. This is pure despair. Now he is the one on his knees. He drops the eyes, and they roll down the aisle.
His words burn into our brains. His final confession. His guilty plea.
Pray for me.
An obscene Monsignor.
A monster preying on your children.
A congregation accepting him.
Mothers and fathers alike.
Allowing it, loving him.
Some even taking him home with them, preying on their own.
Aggressors, confessing their sins just so they can do it again. Pray for us.
His ranting turns into rambling like his brain is scrambled.
His tears fill up his face. Not able to come out fast enough, he starts to bloat up, like all the guilt he never felt before is hitting him all at once.
All the guilt he built this church on, putting it all on us for generations. All of that is filling him past capacity.
His tears turn black, and his eyes roll back, disappearing into his face, replacing them with black holes that start to erupt with a thick, hot tar that covers him all over his skin, cooking him alive.
No one can look away. Am I the only one who can see that the Santa Lucia statue behind him is starting to move?
Pieces of Santa Lucia crack and chip away, and soon the statue crumbles into a dust that fills the church, blinding us all, while we choke on it.
When the dust settles, there she is. Eyeless, standing over the Monsignor, who is still alive.
She picks up her own eyes off the floor and places them on her platter.
She levitates over our parents and up to the choir loft, presenting her eyes to Gasper.
She asks him if he chooses forgiveness or punishment, love or hate.
I choose love. I choose to forgive.
And just like that, the Monsignor's agony ends when that tar melts him down the rest of the way into a dark puddle on the altar that starts to eat right through the hard marble floor. Years of erosion all in one corrosive mess, spreading toward the pews as the parents herd together, trying to avoid it.
Santa Lucia moves on to Noelle, giving her the same choice, presenting her eyes.
My mother and father look up at me desperately from the pews.
She has to choose.
I choose hate. I choose to punish.
She should have said love.
Noelle's eyes roll back, just like the Monsignor, and Santa Lucia replaces them with her own.
Now Noelle only sees what she sees.
Lucy is Noelle now.
Noelle is Lucy, a female Lucifer.
The saint is absorbed into my best friend, and they become one and the same vengeful spirit, hovering over the congregation, turning their wrath on the parents below, whose eyes also roll back, only to spew forth that same hot liquid onto one another, cooking their flesh and eating each other alive, a true feast.
The ceiling starts to flake over them, and the roof collapses onto them.
I knew we could blow the roof off this place.
Then the molten floor falls out from under them. Those who weren't eaten or crushed fall into that hellhole, body and soul.
Some are able to climb out and make a run for the doors, but we hear them slam shut.
All of the children in the loft are able to lift off and float out the open ceiling, cradled by a kind of force that places us safely outside the front doors, where our parents try to escape. They bang on the doors, but all that does is make the 1134 address number fall off the wall and onto the ground, where it spells out hell.
No individual screams, just a collection of sound, like our chorus, but instead of our voices reaching up to heaven, they are being dragged down to hell, kicking and screaming and clawing and gnashing. Can't imagine what their eyeless minds are seeing right now, but I know what it sounds like. The sound of 1,000 demons reborn and torn apart from the inside out.
Noelle is still in there with them, but she is something else now. The new spirit of Santa Lucia.
The old walls crack and break apart just like the statue, and the last thing we hear before it all falls into a massive sinkhole is the sound of our friend, our saint, cursing them all in the guttural tone of a demon.
She repeats it all the way down.
We creep up to the edge as the sound of her voice gets lower and lower into the ground.
I'm too afraid to look over the edge.
I look down, and I can't see the bottom. It goes all the way down, but in that darkness, there's a small twinkle of light. 2 little fading Christmas lights flickering down there. The eyes of Santa Lucia looking up at us. The eyes of our friend.
It's cold out here. They're all gone. We go back to Mortimer's house as usual. We don't say anything. His dad is asleep on the couch.
We just sit by my old silver tree from the 80s, wondering what Christmas will be like for Noelle and her parents down in hell.
We pray for them.